So I have like a general question. What prompted you to like look around, look for a solution, and work with us?
Right. I think one of it was essentially I and Imperial Treasure. I mean, I was working with Denville when he first came in as the CFO. So I've been involved in Imperial Treasure for quite a while, right, from the PE ops standpoint. So me and him kind of put in the UiPath part of it, but that was obviously pre-AI, right? I think when we started, it was probably about 30 grand or something like that, and it has kind of doubled in probably, I don't know, 2-3 years. I think that's kind of how UiPath is playing the thing, right? So what prompted me was essentially, okay, in this day and age of the whole AI part of it, was there a solution that probably would be cheaper and a little bit more, how shall I say, they could self-do it in that sense, right? So I was thinking, okay, there should be something. I was looking around Twitter and stuff like that. And then somehow or other, I think you guys launched or you tweeted and stuff like that. Somehow or other, it came onto my feed. And I was like, okay, this looks interesting. That was why I think I reached out to you guys. Probably this was what? This is probably 6-9 months ago or something like that. Probably beginning of the year or something, I can't remember, right? And then it kind of all went, I kind of went silent for a while. So I was talking to Denville on the sidelines throughout the months, and essentially we were like, okay, there was a CFO conference that we organized, that Nevis had organized. Probably what is that? Maybe about 4-5 months ago or something like that. So essentially, I think I got to talk to him and kind of suggested, hey, there could be something in this Mediar platform. Potentially you could get out of UiPath, and then so I reached out again to you guys like what, 4 months ago or something like that. So that was it. I think it was more that I think AI was going to be able to do this, because I was playing around with browser based and I think around that time Claude came up with the whole computer use agent, right? So I think, oh wow, this is possible. That's why I think I started looking. Yeah, probably that's how. Because I think when Claude launched that whole computer use agent thing, it was like, oh wow, AI could also do this. And then I was scrolling around, and then somehow I think I found your tweets and essentially checked you all out and made first contact. I think that was, I can't remember when cloud computer use came up. It was probably around there, plus minus 2-3 months, I think.
So have you tried this cloud computer use and like browser based for like this specific use case, or how did your like thinking evolved around that part?
Right. I think the computer use agent thing, I was helping a colleague, I mean, at that time, to try to do it, right? But it was obviously a little bit more technical. So I was thinking, okay, I don't think this is going to be something Imperial Treasure. They're not exactly a software company and stuff that would be able to use, right? But in the meantime as well, I think I was trying, what was I trying? I think I was trying browser-based, right? So I got my own little company, and essentially I was like, okay, let me try using the whole Gen AI part in browser base to actually create an invoice on my Xero account, right? And essentially it did. So it kind of convinced me that, wow, this is possible. It looked very long. I think it took 10 minutes to create an invoice, but it looked possible. So then I was thinking but there's bound to be startups or whatever it is that potentially are doing this. And I think a lot of them was using more the whole browser UI type of thing, right? And then I think when I came across you guys, it so happened that you guys are more, I think, specialized, or actually the platform was able to do Windows application. So it's like, oh, okay, that would be good. That would be good for use cases across the Nevis portfolio company. So initially it was Nevis portfolio companies. Then when I talked to Denville, he seemed interested. So then we kind of started working more towards, okay, I think we can replace this. And I mean, it's been quite a good thing so far. I mean, they are now managing to save like what, 80 grand Sing a year, right? So that's tremendous actually.
Yeah, that's a really good saving on a single like workflow for like a single project.
Correct. Although I must say, I think obviously the original idea for using UiPath was it's going to do many processes, right? But somehow or other, I think it kind of got stuck onto just one. And obviously, paying that amount for one process just doesn't make economic sense in a way. So the idea was, I think by now, I think we were trying to do one every 3-6 months, but unfortunately, I think it kind of got way late. So I mean, good. And now it looks like Chai is kind of getting on this. Denville's looking at it, and I think, you know, your pricing model, whether it is that $1 per execution type of thing, or, you know, a usage-based metering type of stuff, I think it would still be probably, if you are below X, that means we are below X number of transactions or workflows or executions, it probably still makes sense to do that whole AWS way, right? Pay as you use. But I think at some point there will be, if I pay this much, I get unlimited. I think then, you know, that will change the economics a bit.
Like in comparison to like UiPath, where you just pay for the license, right? So you pay a lot just for the license, but you can use as much as you can.
Correct.
Whereas
Yep.
us charging per usage, it's very good as a starting point. And,
Yes.
and then you think about like, oh, how much do I get? But every time you do something in the automation, you know how much you're going to save in this specific automation.
Yes.
You can always calculate, is it worth taking on more usage, right? Because what's the alternative? Like, how much do I spend?
Yep. Correct. And I presume, I mean, when you guys are looking at it and potentially, you know, your next phase, or, you know, after Series B or whatever it is, you probably want to look at obviously enterprise type, whereby maybe it's just I rent or I get the entire server, right? Then it becomes unlimited as well, to a degree, right? Or cost plus on that. Because I think UiPath is kind of licensed, but actually it's more how many semi-autonomous or fully autonomous RPAs you want, right? So the semi-autonomous kind of RPA is cheaper. So actually you are subscribing to number of RPA bots in that sense, and whether it is a fully autonomous or capable of fully autonomous, or something that you need manual, okay, go next kind of stuff. That's how UiPath, or at least when I was dealing with them like a couple of years ago, that was the model. So I think in this case they bundled up, I think 2 semi and 2 autonomous bots. Obviously, in the case of Imperial, it probably was a bit too much, but unfortunately they only do bundle type of stuff. I think it's depending on market.
So you mentioned that the original plan was to have more automation in UiPath, but it didn't materialize. What do you think was the key limitation factor about that?
I think several. One is that how shall I put it? I think it's the resourcing. Chai and the tech/ITN is okay, right? There are people there, but it was more, I think, in the finance department or in XY department kind of stuff. The resources there, meaning that most of them obviously are not very techy. Secondly, from that, they've got a lot of other day jobs, right? The whole data entry and everything else. So in a sense, I think from the Imperial Treasure side of piece, we needed somebody in the functions. For example, in this case, Denville's finance team, right? So we would need people there to be able to drive this, because it's actually not a tech problem. It's actually what process, which parts of it can be automated, which parts might not be able to be automated, right? So if you think about entire value chain, there will be several steps, right? Some of it will be repetitive, but some parts of it might not be repetitive. But to me, it's better to automate the repetitive part and then hand off to a human and then hand it back to an agent or a bot. You know, but someone has to be driving this and talk to people and stuff like that. I think because when we did this, I think the initial reception was, I'm not sure whether I'll call it skeptical, but I think people were like, are you sure the bot can do why we're talking the UiPath part of it, right? That's why it took probably 6 months or something like that to even do the first process. And essentially, they didn't really want to do it themselves, meaning the Imperial Treasure guys didn't really want to do it themselves. So ultimately, there was an SI that I went through, was sort of reseller for UiPath, and also obviously there's professional services there. So they kind of got these guys to do the thing for them, right? So there was like, you know, put things. Sorry?
How much did it cost to implement actual one single process?
Oh, I can't remember. Probably about, I don't know, I can't remember. Maybe about 20 grand Sing or less, around there, right? So this was PS plus. This was only PS in that sense. So yeah.
But it also requires technical like skills to do that.
Correct.
Like, even if like Chai wanted to do it himself, it would have taken him like certain number of years to learn how to use UiPath.
Not exactly. I don't think so. I think UiPath does have sort of a GUI type of thing, so it's not pure code. It's a little bit more of a WYSIWYG, right? I think, from what I remember, the only thing would be that. So now, how do you, for example, the mapping, and then essentially they needed to have a few Excel sheets. I think maybe that's how the vendor prefers to do it, because in that sense, you kind of want to enable the humans, and we're talking of finance department here, to be able to maintain mapping, new branch codes, stuff like that, right? And to be able to check. So there was actually a lot of intermediary like Excels and whatever that has to be done. So it's more that, I think, rather than coding. I don't think there's a lot of coding. Yes, I think sometimes in the notes or whatever it is, there are some coding that potentially needs to be done, but it's not pure code. So in that sense, I think UiPath wasn't so bad in a way. It was relatively friendly, except that I think Chai and all that didn't really go into this. The Mediar project probably is a bit different because I kind of drove this, and to an extent, obviously Chai kind of responsible for making sure UiPath can deprecate and then or sunset, and then it moves over to Mediar. So I think he was probably more incentivized personally to get more involved.
I see. So there are a few components to that decision making that you mentioned. Just to summarize, like the starting point is like the original like idea that we want to automate things in the company. We want to like incentivize people to make the change happen, and like what's even like possible, right? So like, and now that like AI era is coming on, is like a lot of more things became possible. And AI first tools like Mediar, you can make a lot more things with a smaller team.
Correct. And also definitely, I think the cost component here was good, right? I think the whole entire SaaS industry is probably feeling this. I mean, there's always per usage or per seat kind of stuff, right? Whereas I think with the, I mean, when the whole AI thing came on, then it kind of democratizes the access to such things.
Yeah, it's like a 80-90% saving on like from moving from SaaS to AI first SaaS. It's a pretty good saving.
Yep, definitely.
And the other component is that, yes, okay, you go with UiPath, but you can't implement UiPath most of the time yourself. So you're going to look at the vendor that's going to implement it. And then you end up having like a 6-month project for each automation that will going to cost like dozens of more, tens of thousands of dollars more to like get started it. And then I remember that you also pay for the maintenance of the like $2,000 per month, right?
Yeah, correct.
We were talking to Jai that he was complaining that they would only accept emails and they would respond to like in unpredictable fashion, and it's like it wasn't fair, and it would still not do the whole thing. But that's a separate discussion. What I wanted to ask really quick, actually, so you mentioned that you want to discover what needs to be automated, right? So that's the problem is like, we want to automate, but it's not clear what we want to automate. And part of this job of these consultants, when they come in and do the automation, they just look at how the process works right now, what like types of Excel spreadsheets I use, like where people transfer data back and forth. And this is when you know already what needs to be automated. Right? You still need a human to look at this stuff.
Correct. I think the scoping for UiPath was probably not, hey, please come in and take a look at everything, right? It was kind of like me and I think it was Denville or maybe the CFO before him, kind of thinking, okay, I think this might be a good process to start, right? So that was kind of how it goes. I think the whole part about when I was discussing with you guys about process discovery was, let loose an observation tool on maybe, let's just say, the finance department or X department, Y department, right? And it'll be able to collect data to be able to see whether which ones are quite good for potential RPAing / automation in that sense. I think that would help because then it gives data. It then enables probably management or whoever to kind of say, hey, actually this one you do it a lot, right? You might not have realized it, right? But then essentially this is where it goes, because the other way was somebody needs to understand quite a lot about that department or those cross-department processes and be able to think, actually, I think it's RPA-able or automatable. Somebody has to do that. That's probably what pre-AI was a bit of a problem. It needs somebody to be able to think in process. It needs somebody to be able to think, is this repeatable? And is this a good candidate for RPAing, right? Whereas hopefully in the days of AI, if I just record the whole thing or whatever it is, probably, an LLM or some AI would be able to kind of figure it out a little bit more, suggest, and then like, okay. So I always say that it's for, for legacy kind of companies, it's always better not to give them a blank sheet of paper, because a lot of them do not know what good looks like. They've been in that company forever, right? 10 years, 20 years or whatever it is. And if they don't have a lot of exposure to other industries or other companies, it's damn difficult for them to embrace this.
Yeah, change management. But yeah, it's we have that product now in part of Mediar that watches employees and like what they work on and identifies those repetitive tasks that we should use more extensively now with the Imperial Treasure to identify new workflows.
Yeah, I would definitely like that, because ultimately I think that's how, you know, the ideation part comes in. And I mean, we probably, and it's good. I mean, it's good that Denville kind of oversees quite a lot of departments in that sense. But let's just say if there wasn't such a person or such a role, then it will be probably more within the department is a little bit better to be able to be controlled, right? Because as soon as you go cross department, then the other department also needs to be convinced, right? So the more cooks, the more, this is not even cooks, man. This is like, you know, you've got to convince people that this is possible. And I think there is potentially still that fear that will I be replaced? The media is not you know, not helping on that front.
Just another interesting part that you mentioned, that you tried cloud computer use and you tried like browser based, and you were able to get to some prototype of like automation or like some creating an invoice. Why didn't you go like all the way and like to automate things end to end?
Oh, I did. I was thinking about it, but essentially it means I got to write pretty detailed prompts and all that. I mean, to me, if it's like, let's just say a 5-step thing, I think it's okay. But if it's multi-step and when it deals with ERPs, I was hoping for some better product, because I think when I was playing around with browser based, it was also quite first gen in that sense, and I didn't feel that it was good enough. One, I think the auditability of it, meaning that what did I do, what was the result, so on and so forth, that was a little bit lacking. But again, browser-based was supposed to be more, I think, more a consumer type of thing and a developer driven tool, right? So I presume you would have to make your own logging and all that kind of stuff. So I was thinking, oh damn, that's not so good, right? I mean, the mere fact that you can do it was good, but I think from a business standpoint, there are things about logging, there are things about detailed steps and everything else, which it was a little bit lacking. So I didn't really pursue much. I was looking for more of that, but with the addition of things like logging, observability, so on and so forth, right? Then when I saw you guys, it's like, okay, I think it takes quite a few of these things. Understandably, it's a startup. Understandably, there will be hiccups and all that. So which is why, you know, it needs to be the business themselves also needs to be able to say, okay, I'm willing to do this, right? And at least for Imperial Treasure, I mean, 80 grand savings is worthwhile.
and just,
I mean, if it was a 200 savings, I don't think people will want to take that risk.
Yeah, now you're paying just 5K a year versus you were paying like 80K.
Correct. Yeah.
80K difference. And just to summarize what you said, so when you looked at this AI first browser based and like cloud computer use type of products, they were very like innovative and they opened up like what's possible. They could do things, but they were not very consistent. You didn't have a lot of control over it and didn't have a lot of visibility, right? You want to have like a 50-step long process. You don't know if it's going to do it like consistently every time. You don't know how it's doing it. You don't know how to prompt it to have these 50 steps logged in. You don't know what's the output of each step and what's the result.
Exactly.
Where does it break? So no visibility, no consistency, and not designed for like B2B type of use cases in the first place.
Correct. I think that, I mean, to be fair, those were the early days of the product in that sense. And I think since then, obviously, the LLMs have improved. So I think the time horizon that an agent can do things is now a lot better. And it's incredible, right? What we're talking about, 9 months or something like that. So I think that was good. And I guess it's improving, but I think you guys already have those elements to an extent. And that is good. I think that probably kind of compelled me we need to try this in a bit more of a serious manner. And great, I mean, we took about 2 months to get from objective scoping all the way to going live. What did we do about last week or something like that? So I think that is very good, the speed of it as well. But also I think kudos to you guys. You guys definitely stepped up, and I think you definitely improved a few things, because I think I don't know how simple it is to do this, like if Chai does this, right? Because I think when we were discussing it over the past 2 months, there was a lot of edge cases, and I'm not sure how you guys had address those edge cases, whether it is a product thing or whether it's more a prompting thing or whatever it is, right? Hopefully now it's a lot more of inbuilt within the platform to be able to handle more and more of the edge cases. Because from a Chai perspective, he's kind of just going to do the workflow to an extent, right? And then when you do testing and all that, so sometimes when you say that, you know, SAP didn't do this, SAP didn't need to do that, if we included that to what Chai has to do, and if it's not very simple, I think we will start struggling.
It's definitely what we are trying to learn as we go. And what we've done is we created like a knowledge base.
Okay.
So whenever AI wants to build a new step, it provides knowledge base and pulls up relevant, most useful examples that for typical problems. Like, and a typical edge case is like, oh, unexpected pop-up, or this like, oh, when you press this button, actually you can get like rejected, right? Like you didn't know that. But like that's the reality. And so we have this like multi-layer, multi-dimensional database of all examples that AI looks through ahead of time.
Okay.
To bring you the right step, so it can do things much better from the first iteration.
Right. Okay, that would be good. That would be good. And I guess, you know, the more your customers, and if it increases and everything else, the more that knowledge base kind of gets built up. So essentially it gets smoother for the next one, right? Like a shared, hopefully anonymous kind of data. And I think, I mean, it's kind of anonymous to an extent, right? Because what you're more interested in is the behavior of the platform, not the data itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you also use n8n and build up like a portion of the workflow through the n8n. But why couldn't you get to the like the whole thing?
Okay. So I mean, I think the history of this was like I said, right? So see Mediar, there is that possibility. And then I kind of suggested to Dan, okay, let me take this on. I'll try to do everything via n8n, which was quite okay, right? And then there seems to be APIs for the SAP V1 part of it and all that. But I think as I went on, it was probably more, it became a little bit too technical for my liking, especially dealing with freaking SAP APIs, which is not as well documented as, let's just say, something like Stripe or something like that, right? I was trying to figure out the documentation. I was like, okay, I don't even really understand much of this, right? Then I was kind of like, oh crap. Okay, since now we're going to do Mediar, maybe I'll do the parts which I can kind of understand. Let Mediar do the SAP controlling, right? So kind of doing what we ended up with. But then I think the whole basic premise was, if I can let Chai kind of do it in a platform which has all those observabilities and all that, that would be better than kind of doing n8n plus this plus that, right? In that sense. So I think initially started as, I think n8n should be able to do this, and I think definitely n8n should be able to do it. The only thing was probably the guy doing the n8n is not technical enough.
So let me summarize what you said. So you knew about n8n, you knew it's the popular tool. You tried to do the whole product, the whole workflow end-to-end through n8n. But then, well, n8n doesn't specialize in this like desktop automations in the first place. So you have to rely on like API-driven integrations. And that was like one thing that was missing. And then, SAP, we can do API, right? But then once you started to dig into the details of API, it turned to be a way more technical and
correct.
First thought.
Exactly, like handling errors, or it's like, which one do I use? Because it's not that well I mean, there are documents, don't get me wrong, right? So if SAP hears this or listens to this, you know, on your website, they are going to kind of like, you know, crap on me, right? In the sense where I say it's not documented. It is kind of documented, but it's not friendly enough for someone like me who's semi, or shall I say 10% technical in a way. You really probably need to get fully trained on, have used the SAP SDKs and everything else for some time to be able to figure out or to know what to really do, right? From a total beginner who's very used to things like Stripe documentation to, like, you know, the new documentations on Mintlify and everything else. This is like, oh man, this is like, you know, 20 years ago kind of method of doing shit. I'm like, okay, sorry, man.
Yeah, makes sense. So like with Mediar, you get more like focus on like non-technical users.
Correct.
And also the other thing, so you build part of the workflow with n8n, but then you still don't have, as you said, observability. You don't have enough
No, actually there is. I think n8n platform is actually pretty good. It does have all the executions that was done. You actually can trace step by step and the results of them. So I think that was okay. I think more from the perspective of if we do this really for a long-term thing, then going to platform 1, then platform 2, and then platform 3, and everything else is in 3 different platforms is obviously not ideal in that sense. So I think that's why I was thinking of the next phase of this. The whole entire thing should go onto one platform if possible. Then everything can be seen in one place.
So you want to replace n8n completely with our tool?
Correct. Yeah. If possible, I think that would be good, right? Then when they need to change something, it's literally just because I'm thinking there is a Chai kind of stuff. Great. But if Chai is not there, then I'm going to have Denville's people, or I'm going to have maybe junior IT. I'm like, okay, that might be a bit tough to kind of let the guy understand JavaScripting, the nodes and everything else. I mean, Chai was good, right? Because I spent just like an hour or 2 with him on the whole n8n and Llama index portion. He gets it. And he kind of knows JSON and everything else, right? I'm not exactly sure whether a finance guy will know that, wants to bother about knowing it, or even a junior IT person who, the good ones, there are definitely people that know this. The good ones are not going to work for FMB.
Yeah, Chai is a rare case where he's an IT manager and a software engineer working in FMB with like legacy software.
Exactly. So all this, it just so happens that it's was quite a good combo in a way. But if Chai is not there, you want to do n8n plus Llama, and then after that, it's going to be very tough. So everything onto something easier, like a Mediar thing, would definitely be the ideal platform.
And you mentioned that n8n has a dashboard, and we have a dashboard. How would you compare them, since you have like experience of using both?
I would say, okay, so I think n8n is a lot more visual, right? In the back, it's all JSON to an extent, and I think it's very JavaScripted in a way. Now they're moving towards a little bit more, I think, enabling Python support and all that. But it's very visual, right? It's nodes, boxes with arrows, decision trees, and all that kind of stuff. In the execution or the observability and monitoring portion of it, it has the history of every time the n8n actually runs is an execution. The whole entire flow, you can actually go into each node. When you double click, you can see input, output, blah, 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 right? So I think from that perspective, it is a lot more friendly, right? Compare that to the Mediar one. I think, again, I mean, you guys are obviously not, version 5 or version 10 in that sense. It's still pretty daunting, right? There's a lot of words. There's a lot of, I need to look at things. Oh yeah, look at this particular part of the JSON and so on and so forth. So definitely not as user-friendly, but I'm presuming that this will eventually get to something more, less daunting for finance people, procurement folks and all that in that sense, right? I mean, the logs are there. The problem is you need to understand the logs. Whereas in something like n8n, you don't need to understand the logs. You see input, you see output. That's it. For each of the nodes. So you can literally trace in a way. So that is a lot easier in that sense. You don't need to look at logs, because I think nobody likes looking at logs, right? Because it could be thousands of lines. That's why you have that whole AI part, which I understand the idea of that. It may work, but I'm not sure. I think it's okay for certain type of people. Maybe the finance guys would love the whole, I chat with the AI to be able to get things. But I think
you mean the Q&A?
Yes.
Just to make it clear, Q&A AI chat. When you have a failure in execution, you can go into the tab, and there is a investigation automatic that happens, and AI gives you like a clear output of what went wrong and why. Chat found it quite helpful, and our current step is that we also integrate it back into the builder, so that whenever you encountered an error, AI not only investigate it and find the reason, but it can also go back and correct it.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I mean, then I think that would be good. I didn't really go too much into the whole debugging part of the whole Mediar portion. But I think, I mean, my first take is essentially it definitely looks more daunting to go through. I mean, if you're comparing with a Chai filler, right? So Chai is a lot, I mean, has had developer experience, so it's relatively normal, right? But I think for someone like me who's not so techy, but a little bit more on the business end, is like, wow, okay, it's still quite daunting compared to like n8n, because when I saw n8n one, it's like, okay, yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, indeed. I get it. And so just like the last question in terms of so we have this like project. How was it like collaborating with our company, like and onboarding, getting started working, and then like moving into production? How would you describe the experience?
I would say it was quite good. I think my only I don't know whether I call it a challenge, right? And it's not even a concern. It's more a time zone kind of problem, right? I mean, we are 13 or 15 hours or whatever it is apart, and getting that timing, and to an extent, the whole piece of responses, right? So it's a kind of like a 24-hour response time to an extent because of the time zones to an extent, right? I think that probably is a little bit of the not so ideal. But besides that, I think it was great. I mean, you guys definitely tried to understand one, the problem, and secondly, I mean, you know the product, you own the product, so that's awesome to an extent. So any changes or whatever it is, you guys can just do it, and potentially the next day things get solved, right, to an extent. So I think that was good. The only thing that I would say was it's just not so ideal because of the time zone, right? In that sense, but unfortunately that's the world, right? And unless you kind of have someone working on our time zone and all that. So yeah, I mean, it was good. You guys definitely stepped up to it, and I think whenever there were problems, you were already quite proactively mitigating or addressing those platform related challenges. And I think the other part was also the whole edge case handling part. I mean, you guys did quite a lot to be able to handle it, because I definitely saw a lot more maturity and stability as we went on the project to an extent. Yeah, so that was good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we did add quite a bit of features on the platform side. So as you mentioned, we usually ship new features to the product itself like overnight. Like, so if you're missing something, I need like this extra field or this extra button, we're going to ship it. And also the workflow, that it had some edge cases, and that we know how to solve these edge cases. So we ship overnight like a fix to it. So this edge cases is done.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I think the stability definitely improved over time, and I think quite a lot of the UI or the UX from the platform perspective seems to be added on. So I think it's beginning to be pretty much friendlier than 2 months ago. And I mean, you think about it, that's the time frame, right? We're looking at 2 months, right? And it was quite good, right? Initially when we did this, and then towards the end, it was like, oh wow, okay, it's a lot easier to handle now.
Would you recommend us to other clients now?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely think so. One, I mean, I think the product's quite kind of there now, at least for a V1 or a GA version, and then obviously it will improve a lot more over time. Yeah, like I said, I think when we do the onboarding, which I also want to be there as well, because I think I kind of want to learn this so that I can partly do it, and there are elements whereby maybe if we keep in contact, I can kind of pass those things over to you guys with either my other clients or other prospects or whatever it is in that sense, and potentially even internally within my own company as well. Okay.
Just be on the Windows machine at that time if possible.
Okay. Can.
And then we'll onboard you.
Okay, can. Because I mean, I actually do think this is awesome. And the mere fact that AI is used to do this, I think is very good. The consistency of doing this has been quite okay. But you were saying that I think the agentic horizon is still quite short, right? What are we looking at? About 20 steps, 30 steps, and nothing really more yet to be kind of stable?
Yeah, I would say just like on the number of executions, it goes down, like because in the B2B, you want the workload to be 100% stable, right?
Yep.
And because there are on the scale of 10,000 executions, there are hundreds of edge cases.
Yep.
And even like no matter how well you prompt AI, it might misinterpret the edge case and do like a thing that you would need a human 10 hours to like fix it, because like it will post something into SAP and you didn't find it. You will find out about it when you do like your tax return, and then fine you for like 30K because you did something wrong. And
right.
Like by the time you investigate and find out that was one situation where AI made a mistake, it's going to be too late. So,
right.
So our approach is just like, we build deterministic workflows with all edge cases, but they are deterministic. We build them with AI, and AI has the knowledge base. But it's at the end of the day, it's like human who is like supervise the building part, and then once it's built, it's like very solid and it works 100% of the situation.
Which is why I guess it shouldn't be too many steps, because I guess the context window is not so large as well, right? For now.
We do support, like, you don't have to put everything into the context. We do step by step too.
I see. Okay. So it will be quite a good I don't think it'll be a flagship client, but essentially it also shows, you know, especially elements of FMB. I think there is quite a lot of things that can be automated in FMB.
Yeah, Jai mentioned it's like 500 people company.
Yeah, it is quite a lot. I mean, a lot of it is obviously service staff and the cooks part of it. I think head office is actually quite big as well. I think it would be about 30 odd people or something like that.
50 people.
And the rest, 50 at head office. Okay, yeah. So quite a lot of automation possibilities in that sense. I actually think so. It's the only problem is, once the mindset. Secondly, you know, the pocket size of FMB isn't always big, which is actually quite good, because from that perspective of Mediar, I think it makes automation a lot more affordable. Whereas if we stick with, you know, the UiPaths of the world and the, you know, automation anywhere kind of price tags, those are pretty much unaffordable.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, on that point, yeah, let's finish today's call, and I'll send you an invite for the next Wednesday, and we'll let you know how the call goes tomorrow.
Okay, cool. All right then, Ken. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
right, have a good day. Okay, bye.